Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Darian and I'm going to be covering all things related to grad school applications for psychology and counseling. Also just want to apologize really quickly. I can hear someone watching The Joker in my living room right now, so if you hear that in the background, I'm sorry. But anyways, today I thought that it would be the perfect time to talk about grad school interviews. I know most of them are coming up within the next month or so, so I've put together my top 5 tips for interview that I'm going to share with you all today. So let's get into it. So believe it or not, I was actually in pageants growing up for a couple of years when I was younger, and then again for another couple of years in high school. And the reason why I mention this is because I think that pageants helped me immensely in preparing for grad school interviews. I realize now that many people don't have any interview experience until maybe their first high school job interview or something like that. So going into grad school interviews without any experience or with little experience can probably be quite intimidating, I would imagine, so I'm hoping that my tips I share with you all today will help ease your worries a little bit. So one of the great things about grad school interviews, in my opinion, and one thing that makes them a lot less pressure than pageants, is that you hold a lot of the power. And what I mean by this is that you're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you to make sure that that program is a good fit for you and is really where you want to spend the next 2 to 7 years of your life. So just think about it. If someone sat a person in front of you and said you have to spend the next 2 to 7 years with that person, you're probably going to make very certain that you two will get along and be able to spend that amount of time together. So I think that's how you should view graduate school interviews and looking for programs in general. If you don't feel a connection to the program or the faculty or the campus within that first day or that first weekend that you're visiting for interviews, you're probably not going to experience it in the next few years either. So in my opinion, I think you definitely have permission to be picky and choose wisely in this situation. So try not to get too caught up in them interviewing you and giving them a good impression, and make sure you're also evaluating the program yourself to make sure it's what you want. Number 2 on my list, and I think this is really important to mention because I think a lot of times people get caught up in saying the right thing. So I want to make sure to tell you that there are no right answers in most cases. They are typically more looking for if you can conduct yourself professionally and share your thoughts respectfully and in a graceful manner, I guess. And then for psychology and counseling programs specifically, they're also really looking for if they can see you as a counselor or a therapist or a social worker, whatever it may be. How you might conduct yourself with clients or how you may come across to clients in the future. So don't bother wasting your time looking up possible questions and trying to prepare answers ahead of time. You're much further ahead just being yourself and walking in ready to talk about yourself and why you like that program, what it is you're so passionate about in that field specifically, and you should be fine. If you do feel like you need to prepare ahead of time and look up things before, if that makes you feel better, I would definitely say to look up current issues that are going on in your field, especially current social justice issues that you might face in your career, and just think more about your thoughts on that issue, your opinions, and the reasoning behind them. That's definitely something that will likely come up in an interview. So really just be yourself, and they really just want to get to know you as a person. Don't get too caught up on saying the right thing. And number 3 is definitely make sure that you bring questions to ask about the program. These programs are already so competitive, and for whatever reason, I can guarantee you that that is a sure way to not gain acceptance is if you do not bring questions about the program to your interview. They usually ask you at the end if you have any questions for them, and do not make the mistake of saying, no, I think you've already covered it all. Just come with, I would say, at least 1 to 3 questions about the program. Maybe it's about a certain specialty they provide or clinical opportunities such as internship or practicum that you want to know more about, or a faculty member's research. Whatever it may be, just make sure you come prepared with questions. It's perfectly fine if you want to write them down ahead of time and bring them with you. You won't get like points off or anything if you do that. But there is also an additional rule to this. Make sure that these are not obvious questions or superficial questions that could easily be found on the program's website. Asking good original questions really shows how interested you are in the program and that you took the time to research everything about it and want to learn more. Number 4 is make sure you send the faculty members who interviewed you a nice thank you card or thank you email. Also make sure you do this even if you feel like the interview didn't go very well or if you know for certain you're not going to pick that program. This makes a really good impression. It helps them remember you in your interview, and it really helps to reiterate your interest in the program. You should aim to send your thank you email somewhere between 12 to 48 hours, I would say, at the very latest. You don't want to send it immediately after you leave the room, but you also want to send it soon enough so they remember you and who you are and remember your conversations you had. It doesn't have to be a lengthy letter at all or anything like that. Just make sure you let them know how interested you are in the program, how impressed you were by it, if you were. Also, I would say mention at least one specific thing that you talked about, a certain question that maybe you remember they asked you, or a certain conversation you had about a specific topic. Mention that and say you really enjoyed whatever conversation it was. I think mentioning at least one specific about your conversation really helps them remember your interview and who you are. And then number 5 is more of the unspoken rules of grad school interviews, I guess. Thank you card is definitely one that I mentioned before. Make sure you give firm handshakes before and after. Also make sure you dress professionally, but not too over the top. You still want to look natural, if that makes sense. So that means very simple hair and makeup, minimal jewelry, and make sure you manage any distractions you may have. So if you tend to touch your hair a lot when it's down, put it up or try to get it out of your face somehow. Whatever will help you focus on your interview rather than on your appearance. But just do the best you can, be yourself, and you'll be totally fine. And those are my top 5 tips for grad school interviews. I hope that helped ease your worries at least a little bit. As always, if you have ideas or requests for me for future videos, please don't be afraid to reach out and let me know. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. So today I have put together my top 5 interviews. What?
Hey guys. You know who I think should date? Halsey and Miley Cyrus. They could be perfect. No?
Alright, answer. Typically when they ask you a question, they're not—
I'm listening.
Yeah, I mean, anyway. Stop eavesdropping.